Hello and welcome. I'm Shivani Singh. Donald Trump is back, and so is his favorite weapon, the tariff. But this time, it isn't just a trade skirmish or a 25% nudge. This is a 500% sledgehammer. And the target? Russia. But the casualties? They could be sitting right here in New Delhi or in Beijing or in Brasilia. US Senator Lindsey Graham has just announced that President Trump has given the green light to a bipartisan bill called the Sanctioning of Russia Act 2025. On the surface, it sounds like another move to squeeze Vladimir Putin. But look closer. This isn't just about Moscow. It's a message to every country that has kept its fuel tanks full with Russian oil. So here's the deal. The US is frustrated. For nearly 4 years, the West has tried to bankrupt the Russian war machine. And for nearly 4 years, countries like India and China have provided a lifeline, not out of spite for Ukraine, but out of necessity for their own economies. Now, Washington is losing patience. Senator Graham says that this bill gives Donald Trump tremendous leverage. How? By telling countries you can buy cheap Russian oil if you want. But the moment you do so, every single product you export to the US, from iPhones to auto parts to textiles, will face a 500% tariff. Now you might ask, how difficult is it for America to actually pull this off? Technically, it's a legal minefield. A 500% tariff isn't a trade policy, it's an economic embargo. To do this, Trump is leaning on the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. It's a break glass in case of emergency law. But here's the problem. US courts are already skeptical. Just last year, the Court of International Trade struck down parts of Trump's reciprocal tariffs, saying that the president cannot just use national security as a blanket excuse to reshape global trade. So while the bill might pass Congress, the legal battle in the US courts will be long, messy, and potentially embarrassing for the White House. So now let's talk numbers. Because in Trump's world, numbers are the only thing that matters. Last year, the US already slapped a 25% penalty on Indian goods because of the Russian oil issue. That pushed the total duties on some items to 50%. India's ambassador to the US has been working overtime to get those rolled back. He has been telling Washington, look, we've already reduced our Russian oil imports. Give us a break. And Trump's response? He has liked the reduction, sure. He even called Prime Minister Modi a very good guy. But good guys don't get a pass in American first economics. So what works in Trump's favor here? The leverage. Pure and simple. Trump doesn't necessarily want to collect a 500% tariff. He wants to threaten it. He wants to walk into a room with Prime Minister Modi or Xi Jinping and say, stop the oil or lose your biggest market. It's stone cold leverage. But what works against him? That's inflation. If you slap a 500% tax on Indian textiles or Chinese electronics, the person paying that tax isn't just the exporter. It's the American mom shopping at Walmart. Imagine the cost of electronics, clothing, and raw materials if the US suddenly locks out its two biggest trading partners. It's what Senator Rand Paul has called economic calamity. He is one of the few voices in Washington warning that this Sanctioning Russia Act is essentially cutting off your nose to spite your face. The timing here is calculated. Ukraine is currently at a crossroads, making concessions for peace. The US wants to ensure that while those talks happen, Putin has zero room to breathe. And then there's the what if. What if the world hits back? What if other nations put sanctions on America? Imagine a scenario where India stops buying US defense equipment or Boeing jets. Or China decides to cut off the supply of rare earth minerals. the stuff that you need for everything from iPhones to F-35 fighter jets. Beijing has already started tightening those screws. So if India and China coordinate a counter-sanction strategy, the US dollar's dominance as a trade currency could take a hit. We aren't just talking about a trade war anymore. We are talking about a global economic divorce. So where does India stand? New Delhi has been clear. Our energy decisions are based on affordability and national interest. We are the world's second largest buyer of Russian oil. We saved billions of dollars while global prices were skyrocketing. But now the math is changing. If the US passes this bill and Graham says that it could go to vote as early as next week, India will have to choose. Is the cheap Russian oil still cheap if it costs you your entire export market in the United States? This is the Trumpian style of diplomacy. It isn't about long drawn out treaties or soft power, it's about a bill of exchange. He wants the oil trade to stop and he is willing to burn the global trade order to make it happen. India has already rejected claims that it promised to stop buying Russian oil. There was no such assurance, says the Ministry of External Affairs. But as the Sanctioning of Russia Act 2025 moves through the US Congress, the assurance won't be sought in a handshake. It will be demanded at the customs counter. The question for New Delhi isn't just about oil anymore. It's about how to navigate a Washington that no longer sees strategic partners, only competitors and customers. Can India pivot fast enough, or is a 500% wall about to be built around the special relationship? Thank you for watching.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.